Hello, I'm Glacia Rain, intuitive life coach, health coach, and Ascension guide. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. So this is for the month of November, and I just want to take a quick moment before I get into the energies of November to mention that I have a Patreon group for advanced Ascension information and also for the extended video. And then I also do sessions, so I do personal coaching if you're interested in a session. All right, so let's get into the energies of November. So we know we've been examining beliefs throughout September, October. We're having all of these solar flares. The solar flares start to trigger light code activations within us, and they help activate these dormant abilities like psychic abilities or extrasensory abilities. And they also create epiphanies. So many people are having epiphanies around what type of reality we're in, waking up to kind of the whole global agenda and what's going on in the world. Now, we're also experiencing a pretty big timeline division, and you can see that a lot of people are not choosing unity, they're choosing division and separation. Now, there's no right or wrong in this, it's just that the New Earth reality is based in unity, right? It's also based in sovereignty. So in the Patreon group, we go into a lot of the sovereignty information. So here though, what we're going to talk about is a little bit about you as a creator being and being sovereign. So when you're sovereign, that means you're standing in your power. And this is what, through the month of November, a lot of people are waking up to how much power they actually have. So that means looking at, you have this feeling something's going to happen and then it happens. Or you have a feeling about a friend or a thought about a friend and then they call or knock on your door, or you hear from them within, a couple of days. And it can even be somebody you haven't heard from in a very long time and suddenly they show back up. This is you tapping into your multi-dimensional being, right? So you're not just a 3D being. And we're not just going into 5D either, contrary to popular New Age belief, but we're actually going into our multi-dimensional awareness, which spans multiple dimensions, not just like third, fourth, fifth dimension. If you think about it, we've got first, second, third, all the way up to 15. And then beyond that even, really. But we're just dealing with those in our talks here at least. So when we are talking about having these extrasensory abilities, it triggers a lot of fear in people. And it triggers excitement in others. So when you recognize that you're starting to have telepathy and you and the person next to you say the same thing at the same time, it's really exciting. For others, it can be disturbing because you start to pick up on other people's thoughts. So the thoughts that are in their field, your thoughts exist around you, not inside your head. They're all over in your energy field, right? And so when you're having these different thoughts, you might have a hard time determining what is your thought and what is somebody else's thought. And really, when we're talking about unity consciousness, what's the difference, right? So you're tapping into theirs, they're tapping into yours, and it may not have originated with either of you. So telepathy is when you can read somebody's field and kind of hear and sense and feel what their thoughts are, feelings are, and also you can do it by distance. You don't have to be in their field. You can set your intention on hearing a certain friend or checking in on them, and you can pick up on what they're going through, okay? And this is a natural ability as a multidimensional being. We're so used to being cut off and just existing within the third dimension. And as we have a lot of these solar flares and these light code activations, we start to span and tap into that higher consciousness. A lot of people are also having communication with their higher selves, okay? And that's something that is really exciting for people because your higher self exists outside of this matrix and is the part of you that has access to this kind of all-knowing around what is going on within this level of reality and can guide you through. Very much like if it was an eagle flying above and can see all the different pathways below. And so many people are starting to tap into that as well. Then we're also starting to experience clairvoyance and things like that too. But when we're starting to talk about clairvoyance, we also have to look at holographic inserts and even any extrasensory abilities. Because a lot of these different experiences that we have in the unseen realms can be mimicked through AI, right? So that would be synthetic telepathy, right? So targeted individuals tend to have that synthetic telepathy, which is like the voice to skull stuff. And it allows your mind to be implanted with external ideas or thoughts, very similar to your phone can receive an email or a message or a picture from somebody else, okay? So this whole 5G thing where we have mini cell towers, really close together, we know about this happening, right? So I'm not going to go into that's happening and everything about that, but with these mini cell towers, you're getting stuff that can be directed at you wherever you go, So with the holographic inserts, it's really important to be standing in your sovereignty and revoking consent to having things like that or splitter technology and such, so that when the information is coming in, it's really coming in from your higher self. Doubt gets in the way of connecting with your higher self. It is the primary thing that makes people not feel like they are connected with their higher self, and it's the energy of doubt. Doubt is just an ego distortion, okay? It's a pattern of energy that you've generated within your field that you then perceive the world through. And this is the stuff that we clear in the quantum healing sessions, okay? So the quantum coding sessions. So, and if you have curiosity about that, check out my website, because there's a big description about what we do in those sessions. So, as we have these epiphanies and these awakenings, we're going to recognize that we have so much more power to imprint these timelines, right? So let's talk about the timelines a little bit. We're going through a big timeline separation. And even though, yes, we're stepping into unity consciousness, everything that is not fitting within that unity consciousness is in part of kind of the descending timelines, which are the AI timelines or the virtual reality timelines, which is, you can see that there's a lot of things happening to make you go digital or to make you a hologram or to give you a holographic avatar. This is a lot of the stuff we talk about in the extended video in the Patreon, but you can see where there's the ascending timelines and the descending timelines, and you really have to decide which one you're going to go in, because you're not going into both. So with the descending timelines, that's when you're handing your sovereignty over to something outside of you. And in the ascending timelines, you're recognizing that you are a being that spans multiple dimensions and you have the power inside of you. And this is what a lot of people are waking up to. And they're having to examine their beliefs and question why they believe what they believe. So a lot of you have had your foundations rocked about what the world is and the governing bodies in the world and who they are and who you can trust and who you can't trust, right? And with a lot of the false light teachings, they're suggesting that you give up your sovereignty, right? And that is calling on another being, giving your body over to another being. So that's not what you really want to do. So giving your body over to another being or giving your power of creation over to another being isn't sovereignty. That's enslavement, and that's willing. You're willing to be enslaved when you do that. You're choosing it, in fact. So this is where a lot of people are having to face like, whoa, I've handed my power over to these other beings by asking them to do it for me. And that doesn't work because they don't have the power to do it for you without taking over your physical body, because you have to have a physical body to create in the 3D. We're not leaving 3D, okay? A lot of people are caught up in like, oh, we're leaving 3D and we're going into fifth dimension. But fifth dimension doesn't have the same physical form, right? So you're going multi-dimensional, meaning you also have a body in 3D, but you can access these higher levels of consciousness within the multi-dimensional grid. So there are so many things on multiple platforms, especially this one, that would lead you away from yourself, right? Your higher self is you. So your higher self is not another being. It's you, who you are. You don't need to be giving your power over to these other beings to create something for you, because they can't. Only beings with a body can create in these timelines. And you exist in these timelines, whether you want to acknowledge you exist within the 3D timelines or not, is up to you. But if you're watching this video, then I assure you, you exist within the 3D timelines. It doesn't mean that you don't have access to 5th dimension or 6th dimension or 7th dimension or whatever, but you have a body here, which means you're also here, which means you can create here. And in fact, if you don't use your mind and your body to create here, something else will use it. Something will move through you to use it, okay? So enough about that. Let's get into the Ascension symptoms. So headaches, lethargy like crazy. And I'm talking where you're like, I almost can't even lift my arm today. I'm too tired to roll out of bed, you know. So this can be happening because these high frequencies coming in hit the body, and the body's just kind of like, whoa, how do I hold something moving so fast? So these higher frequencies vibrate at a faster rate, and then your body is like, ugh, how can I deal with this? When you get really tired, because it's restructuring itself to hold more light. And we've been doing this gradually in increments. And so we go through these timeline shifts, and these timelines lead us more and more into our multidimensional template. And then what happens when we're doing these timeline shifts is everything that wasn't obvious to us before, maybe not everything, but a lot of things that weren't obvious to us before then become very obvious to us. So we see where we're still holding trauma, where we're still holding limiting beliefs, and we see where we need to make changes. And so that can put us in a dark night of the soul, that can make us feel very uncomfortable. And in those moments of discomfort is when we're most likely call on another being to help us or do it for us. But really, that leads you into becoming possessed by those beings. Those beings get in your body with you. And I actually have an entity course coming up. If you want to take that in November, you can sign up for that. And then in January, I'm going to be teaching inner sourcing, how to communicate with your higher self, how to stand in your sovereignty, how you have everything that you need within you, but we'll go into that in January. So, and all of this can be found on my website, okay? So when you are in those vulnerable moments, that's where you call on your higher self, right? And many of you are like, but I don't hear my higher self. Do you hear these other beings, you know, that you call on? Do you actually hear them? So it's really important to start examining, why do you believe these things? And who told you that you can call on so-and-so and that they'll do things for you? And I know this is going to upset a lot of you. That's not my intention. My intention is full sovereignty for you so that you become the powerful creator that you truly are. You step into that power instead of handing the power of creation over to somebody that you don't know. Now, that being said, I like to use the analogy with that. If you had $1 billion, would you hand it over to somebody else to spend? Because you've got a gift that's actually priceless, worth way more than $1 billion. And that's the power of creation within this level of reality. You have a body. It takes a body to create. You have a body and you have a consciousness that you can direct. You have everything you need to create amazing things here. But if you hand either of those over to something else, then you're going to have limited creation, or you're going to have a convoluted creation because something else is coming and creating through you. Okay, back to the symptoms. Headaches, fatigue, nausea, exhaustion, and then the epiphanies, the awakening, the recognition of your multidimensionality. So many of you are starting to be like, wow, maybe I am this greater being, you know, and then you're starting to see through the false narrative. And this is huge for many, because as human beings, we're just very trusting. We like to trust, you know, we extend our trust a lot of times before we really know, but it's kind of this default that we have, was just built into us to believe what somebody else is saying. And so now we're having to face kind of a cold, hard truth around that isn't necessarily what's happening on this planet. Not everybody's trustworthy, and not everybody has your highest good as their reason for saying what they're saying or doing what they're doing, okay? So we're developing this discernment as a collective around what types of beings we can trust, what types of governing bodies we can trust, and how to discern that within ourselves. Because really, when you have the power of discernment, something in the external can present itself however it does, but you'll know internally if that representation they're showing you is based in truth or not. Okay, so that's coming online for a lot of you. The ability to kind of read the energies around you, which can lead to a lot of discomfort. Empaths have had this for a very long time. And everybody, contrary to what other people believe, I believe that everybody has the ability to develop empathy. Now, some people have it already developed and are more adept at it, but that doesn't mean that the people who don't have it developed to that degree can't develop it there, you know? So it's time to start stepping into possibilities and creating your reality with intention, and recognizing that you really don't need external forces to save you or rescue you or to do it for you, because you're fully capable of doing it yourself. So with these different ascension symptoms too, people are still having the ascension flu. And this is where you can have fevers, and you can have sweating, you can have headaches, you can have the lethargy, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, and you can also get rashes. And a lot of this has to do with the high energies coming in, hitting the energies that are in your body, and then there's like a clash of two different energies, right? And your body has to shift itself and drop these lower energies of like the pesticides, the chemicals, the toxins, the medications, and things like that, that build up in our bodies that need to be detoxified for optimum health. But when these high frequencies come in, those lower frequencies of those toxins, they don't mesh together. And so the body is like, I gotta dump this in order to hold this. I can't hold this and hold this new light coming in. And that creates illness in your body. So a lot of people are now, with this global situation, they start to really fear, like, oh no, do I have this or do I have that? And it could just be the ascension flu. Certainly if you feel you need to check in with your doctor, do so. And so the other things that we're going to be dealing with in the month of November is really having to face what our ego distortions are and what our traumas are. Because we don't move forward and hold on to our traumas or points of view around being a victim or around being this disempowered person that needs to be rescued, right? We can see where that has led us in the past. And a lot of people are like, wait a minute, that isn't who I am. And so this is a huge ascension symptom during the month of November, is awakening to who you truly are, kind of starting to get these glimpses that you are this really advanced being that is truly limitless in your potential, and that you've only got points of view that weigh you down and create these limitations within your life. We're dealing with the false narrative that is trying to prevent the truth from coming out to everybody, okay? So really looking at who gains from running this false narrative and who loses. So when you see that certain companies or certain people are getting, the greatest profits they've ever seen, while humanity is sicker than we've ever seen, you have to start looking at that. And many people are looking at that and saying that adds up to that. So kind of recognizing like, okay, what am I participating in? How can I move forward or step out of this and get into my greatest good, right? And so this is where we have the power of questioning. We have the power of inquiry. And when we inquire about something, we set the alignment with the answer to it in motion. So asking yourself, how can I step onto my greatest path today? that sets into motion. Your subconscious mind is like, oh, wait, okay, how can I do that? And then forces within the universe, so we have the quantum field, we have the collective. So the collective is communicating with the quantum field all the time. And whatever you're putting into that quantum field is imprinting into the timelines. So when you start to ask a question, all these forces that create alignments and assemble reality through the etheric version of it first, the energetic version, and then it comes into the physical version. And so when we ask a question, we're asking it into that etheric version so it can show up there and then show up in our physical reality. If you don't ask the question, you're not instigating that movement within the quantum field, right? And this is where the law of attraction can come into play, where you look at that, and that doesn't mean just saying the same thing over and over, like I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. Asking the question, how can I be wealthy? What actions today can I take to be wealthy or healthy or in a relationship or whatever it may be that you want, right? There's no limitation to what you can ask for. And it's that classic ask and you shall receive. But the key word is ask. You got to ask for it, right? And that doesn't mean ask another being to do it for you. You're not saying, oh, so-and-so, do this for me. You're asking out into the quantum field, what would it take for me to have this, or to experience this, or for this to be my reality? And it might be that you have to let go of a perspective that you hold about yourself not being good enough, or you have to let go of this way of being that you've worked yourself into that is not really who you are, And so this is something where through the month of November, everybody is starting to wake up to their ability to direct and influence the timeline. As we keep moving forward as a collective, more and more people are giving up their sovereignty completely, and more people are stepping into their sovereignty completely. And this is the splitting of the timelines, the descending and ascending timelines, right? And you look at that and you're like, oh crap, I don't want to go into the descending timelines. So what would you do? Not call on some other being, no. You ask yourself and you ask into the universe, not to do it for you, but how can I have? How can I step into the ascending timelines with the greatest joy possible? And that's something that when you're asking that question, things start to shift and move according to your asking, because you're a human being with the ability to create in this reality. And so that is what I have for you for this month, my friends. I am so grateful that you're here with me, and I look forward to connecting with you more and more. And please do check out my Patreon if you'd like to get into the advanced Ascension information. And I'm saying this to you, and this is really important to know. It is not for people who want to be in the Savior Enslavement program, okay? It is for people who want to step into true sovereignty and will explore ideas about sovereignty and not cling to limiting beliefs about being saved or rescued, okay? Just putting that out there, because I don't want you to come there and get upset if you see that sovereignty isn't handing over your power to another being or getting somebody else to do it for you. That's not sovereignty, okay? So anyways, if you'd like to get a session with me, like I said, you can book through my website. And if you have trouble booking, please know that I have an immense amount of electronic harassment because of the nature of the work that I do in helping liberate people from the enslavement grid. So with that being said, if you find that you're trying to book and it doesn't allow you to book, or the page blanks out, or it just keeps loading and loading and loading, send me an email and I'll help you with that, okay? So thank you again for your time. You're absolutely spectacular, amazing beings, and you're very brave and courageous for being here during this time, and you have a lot of power. So start imprinting those timelines with your intention and attention, and know that the timeline split is underway, that this whole global thing going on is part of that, and that you have a choice in every single moment as to where you direct your energy, attention, and you follow your energy and attention and intention, okay? All right, much love, family. See you later.